Hey everyone. How many of you heard this term before? FEM? Really? From where? Because I just made it up. There is such a thing. Don't Google for it. I mean, it's nothing. It's just, Firebase, Angular, and material design. Let me introduce myself quickly, and then we'll just jump right into the code. So I'm Nir, like Ilya introduced me. I'm a Google developer expert. I'm the head of the Angular development in 500 Tech, which is a consulting company. Most of the time I'm doing just Angular for a long time, like 5 or 6 years. I'm a worldwide speaker, which means I travel the world. I came especially for here to join those events, which is very fun. And I'm also organizing those kinds of meetup back home in Israel and in some of European countries as well. But enough about me. Let's watch a few slides and jump into the code. So when we are talking about the standard web development stack, we usually talk about development environment, which can be very complicated those days if you're doing modern front-end. We're talking about, of course, server-side. We're talking about some kind of a front-end framework, Angular, React, whatever. And the most painful part is the UI and UX. So let me show you some slides with cool animations. What we're going to do today, I will code from scratch a very simple application, but I'll try to cover like all the important stuff. I like to give you something that you can like use right now. So the main focus won't be about to build something, like a beautiful demo with a lot of animations and stuff. We will focus on the Angular Firebase part, all right? And it's going to be a real live coding, which means that hopefully I will get some errors during the session, because just like in life, we can learn from errors. And if my demo will run smoothly, you probably won't learn as much as if we get any errors. And second of all, I will push all of this demo up to GitHub right after the session, so you can play with it. Angular CLI, how many of you used Angular CLI? Of course, most of you. OK. Is there anyone here who never generated a new project with Angular CLI yet? OK. So this one is for you. So the Angular CLI giving us all of those wonderful things in a simple command. How many of you, hopefully, using Angular? Angular, not AngularJS. Angular? Right. So hopefully, what you can take from this session is you will learn how easy is it to start working with Angular with all those modern tools. And the last slide. Yep. How many of you used AngularMaterial? AngularMaterial? Few. Great. I had enough with slides. Let's jump into the code. I've got a lot of them with different kind of animations, like, but it won't help us. All right. So as I promised, I will start from scratch. So the first thing I want to do is to get into my workspace directory and generate a new Angular project. I will use the Angular CLI for this. So ng-new is the command for generating a fresh new project. ng-new, the name of the project. Let's call it NYC demo. And then you can pass on some other flags. So you can configure your project right in this stage, but you can do all of this later on. So I leave the defaults. And hopefully, the Wi-Fi is fast enough, so we won't have to wait too much. As you can see, I'm using Yarn instead of NPM. But you can use whatever. Excuse me? NPM 5 just released. So I'll probably switch back to NPM. That's it. Right now, we've got a fully working development environment, a fresh new Angular project, which is a production-ready project. I mean, it's not like some kind of like a demo app, and you need to put other stuff and configure other stuff. All right? Let's open it up. my workspace, NYC demo, WebStorm. And I'm going to run ngserve, which will delegate to Webpack 2, bundle my project, fire up the browser, and push the code right inside. All right, so we know we're going to use Angular Material. So let's say a few words about the Angular Material project. The Angular Material project, basically, it's a set of pre-made components, UI components, which encapsulate all the material design spec right without any extra configuration. So you get not only the UI, you get all the animations, all the behavior of those UI components in space, and you don't need to really know what's going on deep inside. All right? Because it's a real live demo, I didn't prepare nothing. So I'm going to walk with you step by step by going to this address, material.angular.io, and hit the Get Started. And as you can guess, it's all started with an npm install. So we're going to install the Angular Material package. And we're also going to install the Angular Animations module, because material design is depend on this module to give you all those nice animations and transitions. Okay? Back to our project, to the built-in terminal. I'm going to do yarn add, which is similar to npm install if you're not working with this tool. So npm install will work exactly the same way. Yarn add, and let's add the Angular Material package and Angular Animations. Material, yep. All right. Next step will be to pull the Angular Material CSS right into our main style sheet of the Angular project. In an Angular CLI project, you can find this file, the style CSS, which will, by default, load as a global style sheet. All right? So I'm going to import from Angular Material and inside the Angular Material directory, you can find pre-built themes, and inside you can find some pre-built themes. So what I'm going to do is just import it to my main style sheet. So pre-built themes, and deep purple. No, let's go for the indigo, whatever, pink. All right. Basically, that's all you need to set up Angular Material in your project. I mean, you can go further. You can register some SVG icons. You can add extra libraries. You can go much further. But right now, I can use like any components I want to use from this library without any further configuration. So let's see if it will work for us. I'll go to my app module. I'm going to import the Angular animation module. So browser animation module. Now, Angular Material project is split into small modules. So each component got its own module. So you need to import exactly what you want to use. To check it out, I will import the MD toolbar module. And I'll go to my app component. I don't want to use any external template. So let's switch to inline templates. And here I'm going to throw the markup that will render to a material design toolbar. I don't remember it, so I'll hit the website again. This time, components. Let's go to navigation, and here you can see an example for a toolbar. And I'm just going to go to the example tabs, show me the code, copy-paste all of this, throw it into my component. We don't need all of this, just a toolbar. And we can change the name to Angular on fire. And if everything is all right, we've got a toolbar. All right? Are you feeling the excitement yet? Yeah. Because you keep it deep inside. Feel free to, I don't know, woo, It is exciting. I mean, it's easy. That's the point of all of this. The reason I show you that I just copy-paste some markup from the website, throw it to my component, and it just works, that's exactly the point. I mean, you don't need to like think about it too much. You can find a component you like and just throw it on your project. All right? We're done with the setup. So the next stage will be to build some user interface. Then we will set up Firebase, connect everything together, and see if it works. We are not going to build something complicated. So basically, I want us to build an authentication flow. So we build sign in, sign up, and forgot your password forms. And then we will render a list of accounts. So each one of you, when we deploy this application, each one of you can just create a user, sign in. We will see your names in the list. And then we will raffle all of those names and give you tons of prizes. We do have prizes. Huh? Do we? Anyway, I'm going to lie. Tons of prizes. I'm going to throw prizes on you, all right? Don't worry. All right. For me and for this demo, I don't want Angular CLI to generate 4 files for each component, a separate HTML, a separate CSS, a spec file. So what I'm going to what I'm going to show you is how you can go to Angular CLI.json, which is the configuration file for the Angular CLI. And right on the bottom, you see this defaults object. And here, you can set up defaults for the generator. So I can say like inline template, true. Inline style, true. I don't want any spec files to be generated, so I set it to false. And I will set the flat property, flat to true, which means that, yeah, I can see. No, flat, yeah, what happened to me? Which means that each time that that I will generate a new component with Angular CLI, it won't create any directory. It will be just flat, all right? So down here, you can configure the behavior you want from Angular CLI, so you don't have to accept the defaults or pass any flags each time you generate a component, a provider, a pipe, or something. Now, I'm using WebStorm IDE, and one of the things that I really like in the latest version of WebStorm is the deep integration with Angular CLI. So if you don't like to use the command line and you feel more comfortable with generating files with some kind of user interface, I can just choose new file, and you can see the Angular CLI logo. And when I choose Angular CLI, I can see the different kind of files that I can generate. And you can choose one, give it a name, and basically it will delegate to the Angular CLI, but you don't have to type any commands on the terminal, which is great. I think so. So let's start. I want to build a user interface for all this authentication process. So I will start with a module. Maybe I won't use. I will use the terminal because most of you don't work with WebStorm. So ng generate module or nggm. Let's call this module off. Inside this module, I'm going to generate few components. So I'm going to generate a login, register, and let's do another one for recover, for recovering my password. All right? So as you all can see, now I've got a off directory, and inside, because I set the flat to be true, I've got all of my components right in line. So I've got the auth module, login component, recover component, and register component. Inside my app module, I'm going to import. I don't need the forms. We don't need the HTTP. I'm going to import the auth module that I just created. And inside my app component, we're going to configure simple routing. Angular router is very simple to configure and start working with. All you need to do is to import the router module. I'm calling a static method on this router in order to configure it, name for root. And I'm passing an array of route configuration. The basics are what's the path, like login, and which component should I render. Let's say login component. So login, register, and I forgot. Recover. Recover. Yep. Recover. Cool. I'm going to throw it
If you don't use the mic, it won't come out.
You have to use it. Ready? Ready? Right? Just put your mouth into the pillow.
It's automatically importing the red line. You're using like a quick fix or something?
Yep, that's the beauty of WebStorm. It's working so smoothly that I'm folding the import statement. I don't even take a look at this. But if I'll expand it for a second, you can see that each time I've got a red one, usually it's auto-imported, but if not, I'm using like Alt-Enter and add import statement, and just putting it up there. All right? All right. So for most of you who didn't use the Angular router yet, this is the basics. And I don't think it's too hard. I mean, just path and component. This is the basics. We do need to specify a spatial component. Router outlet will indicate a place where the component will render. So let's test it. Let's go to login, and we can see login works. Register. So we've got register works and everything set up. Very slick API. I mean, currently, the current version of Angular, they did a good job for cleaning up the API. So most of you, how many of you working with the AngularJS? UI router, you know the drill. So a very simple object, an array of objects, path component, and of course, it can get much deeper if you like. But this is the basic. Great. So we've got routing, we've got components. Next step, will be. Let's build forms. Again, I'm heading to the AngularMaterial website, which is a subdomain of Angular.io. So if you're going to Angular.io, just add a material at the beginning, and you get into here. Let's look for an input like this. I'm just using the pre-made examples. So just like before, I'm going to view source. I'm going to, that's a lot of stuff going on here. We don't need most of it, but I'll start with copying all of this example. Let's go to the login component, paste it. I don't need most of it. All I need is love. I heard it. All right. And this is not going to work. Why? Let's see if you're listening to something.
At the module review, port.
All right. Cool. Yeah. I promise you some errors that we can learn from. So this is the most common error when you try to use a component, but you didn't import the module. So if there's anyone here who's new to those kind of errors, this is the most common one. We're using the MD input component, which means that I'm going to head up to the auth module and import the MD input module. That's it. All right? Now I'm expecting, let's go to the login again. All right. Not looking very nice, but we'll fix it in a second. All right? But we've got a form. Let's clean it up. See, there is disabled here and here. And if we want to give it a nicer look, we can put it inside a card. So I'm heading up to the AngularMaterial website. I'm looking for a card. I can find one. Again, let's take a look at the code. We don't need most of it. So I'll take the card and the card header and the content. Just above the form. No subtitle. Change this to login. I don't need any avatar. Don't need any image. This is the content. We let WebStorm to auto-close all the important tags. And I will import my MD card module. So now I'm expecting to see something a little bit nicer. What I missed? Nothing. All right, so we've got a card. And we've got a nice input. You see with this nice animation. Don't hold yourself. Let it go. Just let it go. I'm going to do something that I actually consider to be okay those days, and put an inline style with margin of, I don't know, 20 pixels. And if you think of it, I'm building like an encapsulated component, so I can do whatever I want. Doesn't really matter. And here we got a nice card. So basically, I can just, for a minute, doing some copy and paste and build all of our forms together. You have a question? All right. Wait a second. Ready? Yeah.
So nowadays, all the UI is more of the responsive, right? The layout, all those things.
Yep.
So
if I'll try to, I don't know, to change, I can't because I'm on full screen, but I'll show you later. It's responsive, it's right on place. All right?
you can use the second part all the way up.
I can use this. Yeah. All right? The whole idea of using this AngularMaterial library is that you don't need to think about UX, UI, responsive, accessibility. You've got all of this for free. So that's the idea. All right? So now that we've seen that it's so easy to get started, I can take it a little bit faster, and just let's build some forms and move on to Firebase. All right. So I just copy paste this code. Here we've got an input. An input, let's say, for email. The placeholder will be email. We don't need any values. And here the placeholder will be password. Password. No value. Type password. All right. So we've got email and password. Let's put a button right here. And then we copy paste this form with slight changes, and we'll finish this this flow. So I'll head up and find a button somewhere. Here's a button. Let's take this one, the raise button. Back to the code. I'm going to throw it here. Let's say login, and add the MD button module. It's not raised. All right. All right? Yep. Let's finish. I'll take all of these and I'm going to throw it to the register component. Because for register, I'll need your email, I need your password, and let's just add a first name. All right? I leave the recover password for later. If we will have time, we'll plug the recover as well. But the process is the same. Cool. Let's jump to Firebase. Let's start to build a server-side logic. So as I promised, I'm starting from scratch. So I'm heading up to the Firebase google.com website. And I'm already logged in, and it's totally free. So I can go to the console. And inside the console, I can add a new project. Let's call it NYC demo. We are in United States. Create project. Wait for a minute, less than a minute, 30 seconds. You've got everything set up. And now I can choose, do I build an iOS app, an Android app, or a web application? I will choose Add Firebase to your web app, and you get this snippet. Straightforward. This is the configuration. Now, in a real-world application, you won't copy and paste this token to your front-end code. You will use a server environment variable. But for the purpose of the demo, we'll just take it as is and throw it to our code. So as you can see here, it's a configuration object ready to use. I'll copy it. I don't need everything. I just need this one. App module. Let's do it here. Instead of var, we're going to use const. And you see this Firebase? This is the Firebase SDK, which we didn't install yet. So I'll go back to the terminal, npm install or yarn add Firebase. Firebase. That's all we need. Now I can import from Firebase. our project is set up with Firebase. Excuse me? Angular Fire? Not on this demo. All right? There is a library called Angular Fire. It's still a work on progress. It's got very nice features of like very convenient syntax to bind the database to the front end. But I want to use the native SDK because this part of the session has got nothing to do with Angular. I mean, you'll see just JavaScript. You can use it with other projects as well. All right? So if there is anyone here who doesn't use Angular at all, you can still take this demo and do something with it. You want to say something? Ask something? All right. Well, where's the? Let me try. Let me try.
No. That's perfect.
Yeah. All right.
Angular Fire 2 with Angular 4.0. Angular Fire 2 is the latest to use with Angular 4.0 as well? Or is there a specific library?
Too much versions. Everything, I'll answer you. All right?
The latest Angular Fire Angular Fire for Angular 4.0 is what? 2?
I think so.
Okay. And
Personally, I don't use the Angular Fire library.
you just use plain
Yep.
JavaScript.
Yeah.
One more question is, I use Firebase, and I saw the snippet that you add to your website. Other than the limitation of the domain names in your website, is there any security feature that nobody copies this? I understand you can add the domain.
Security. That's it.
So it's just the domains?
Yeah.
And that's safe enough?
Yep.
Okay. Thank you.
All right. So I've got everything set up. For those of you who doesn't know what is Firebase, there is a common mistake to think that Firebase is just a database, a real-time database that you can use as your backend. But currently, Firebase is much more than just a real-time database. The database is still its main feature, but as you can see, and we will use most of it on this demo, you've got built-in authentication as a service, you've got a database, you've got storage, so you can upload stuff, you've got free hosting, and you've got cloud functions. Currently, I'm using the free tier of Firebase, and there's enough in it for like building your startup without paying nothing. If you scale up, it's something like I think at $20 a month or something like this. But you can start completely for free and build your startup around it, which is nice. You pay by the function, and not by time. Anyway, I paste the configuration object. I imported Firebase, so currently I'm connected to Firebase. Basically, that's all you need to do. If you want to start building our authentication process, let's generate an Angular service. So I'll go to the Angular CLI. I'll choose a service. Let's give it a name of. It generated the service and spec file for unit testing. I'm removing it. I will register my service as a provider on my module, so we can inject it. Providers. All right? Cool. Let's do some advanced stuff. So we want to log in. Let's say you will pass me some information. I want a register, and I want a recover. Now we are going to use authentication as a service straight from Firebase. So I'm heading up to the console. I'm going to the authentication section. And here, I can choose which method I like to use. So I'll choose email password, turn it on. Everything here is material design, yeah? The whole website using the material design. The email password, as you can see, I've got an anonymous feature. And that's it. I'm done with the console. Technically, I can implement the entire flow right now within my front-end code. Let me show you how. I'll import from Firebase. And for the login, well, what do you want from me? As, yeah. So for the login, we're going to use Firebase auth dot. Look at the name of the methods. It can't be any easier than that. Let's sign in with email and password. Who want to guess which argument I need to pass to this function? We don't have any prices. Let's take the user email and the user password. And this method will return a promise. Email, yeah. This is how you spell an email in Hebrew. And we're done. Believe it or not. Let's implement the register and then connect it to the UI. So the same thing, Firebase, auth. Let's create user with email and password. You can take this, just put it here. This one also return a promise, and we're done. Ready? Yeah.
Where do you get the other parameters?
Which one?
Email, user password.
I didn't pass it yet. All right?
Ready?
Yep. Give it when we will call the login, we will pass this user object and we get everything. All right? There is no magic here. We just haven't used those methods yet. All right? Hmm? Yeah. All right. And one of the best part of it is this one. Firebase auth. Ready? Where is it? Yeah. Send password reset email. During the, I don't know, the last 10 years that I'm programming stuff, I always tried tons of like authentication as a service solutions, and this one is the easier until now. Because right now, if you've got an email, you see you've got your templates, and you can just like put your templates and that's it. Put a valid email and you don't need to configure nothing. It's Google taking care of everything. Yeah, but let's see if it's actually working, because I'm just throwing some code. So this service is ready. And just to make sure, you can use the pre-built types inside of Firebase. So you can use types. I mean, I'm sparing all the public and the types, but you can do it by the book. All right. So we've got what we need. Let's connect our form. So there are basically two ways to build a form in Angular. One is called template-driven forms, which basically it's a set of directives that let you like specify everything inside your template, and Angular behind the scenes creating all the instances and stuff. And the other one is the reactive forms model, which basically you need to take care of instantiate each and every form control that you like to use. And this is what I'm going to do now. I'm going to import the reactive forms model straight from Angular Forms. All right? Head up to the login. And if you never seen the reactive forms model in action, I will create a login form. The type will be a form group. I will instantiate this form group. So this login form, login form, new form group, the form group accepts an object. I've got an email, which is a new form control, and we've got a password. This is how reactive forms looks like in Angular. You're just creating an object, very object-oriented state of mind. And now all I have to do is just bind it to the template, and that's it. I'll take this code, I'll throw it right here. I want to inject our authentication service because we're going to use it. So auth service. And I've got everything I need. I just need to bind these form control instances to my template. I'm going to locate the form tag and use the form group directive and bind it to the login form instance. I'm going to bind to the ng submit event and call the auth login. This is our service, all right? And we'll pass it the login form value, which will be an object with an email and a password, all right? And each one of the controls, I need to bind it to the right instance. So I'm going to use the form control name, and this one is an email. This one is a password. And this button will be our submit. So this form is ready. But if I go back to the browser, I'll get an error. Now let's see if there is anyone who knows where the error came from. The problem is that once you import the reactive forms model, each form tag on everywhere in the templates need to be binded to a form group instance. So currently, we've got other forms like this one, the register, and I've got a form element, and I haven't bind it to any instance. That's the reason you're getting the error. Again, this is a very common error. So if you ever encounter this kind of error, you see like form container, where is it? Control container. You should know that probably there is reactive forms module inside your project, and you've got a form element that have no binding to a form control instance. Cool. So on this component, this register, I need to do the exact same thing like I did in the login component. I'll create a public, we call it register form. The type will be form group. This register form is a new form group which accepts an object, and a name will be new form control, email, and password. Inside my template, I'm going to do the binding. This one is a form group, register form. I'll catch the submit event. We'll do something with it in a second. Each one of the controls, I'm going to use the form control name. This will be a name. This one, email. And the last one is password. All right? This button, I'll make sure that he will fire the submit event, and we're done with this template. Once you get used to Reactive Forms model, it's like, it will change your life, really. I was a completely different person before I knew this module. I became so obsessed with forms that I've spent like a lot of time to write a book about forms. I dream about forms at night. I have a tattoo named Form Control on my shoulder. I can show it later. And no, really, you're laughing. I can show it. Great, so it seems like everything is in place. I will inject our auth service. I'm using a lot of shortcuts. I'm making a WebStorm to work with me. So as you can see, because Angular using TypeScript and there is a lot of boilerplate code, if you use WebStorm, it's like saving you a lot of time. I'll make it public. And we created a method for this register, I think. Auth, yes, register. And I can pass the register form value. So in theory, let's see if everything okay. All right. In theory, I can create a user. Let's try. I'll go right here, and I'll pass a callback function. As I say, this returning a promise. I will pass a callback to the then, just to see the result in case we get an error. Console log, result. All right. The syntax is OK, but this is not the right place. I can't hear you. I need to throw it on you.
Should you use catch instead of then?
I should.
Error?
I should pass it a success callback, an error callback, a catch. Everything you know about promises is valid. I just spare some code for this demo, but it's a regular promise.
I mean, then won't.
No. You will get it will be like a success returning from the server, but it will contain an error message.
Oh, okay.
All right, so we'll catch it. Because you'll see in a minute, there are special errors. Let's try to create a user. Nir Kaufman, Gmail. I'm using my real email. And a secret password. I hit the login. I got a result. So if I go to my console and to users, I have user. Now you can get excited. Thank you. And because I'm the boss and I've got a console, I can do nasty stuff, like I can disable your account, reset your password, delete your account. All right. Anyway, we can create an account, which is great. So if I have an account, I can log in. So we almost like finish all of our flow. Let's try to do something interesting. Let's go to recover. We build a form for recover? No. Oh, but it's a lot of work. From the Angular side, it's a lot of work. That's the amazing part of it. But we can take all of this, basically, go to recover, and just paste it. So, because we don't need, we just need one field, and that's it. And instead of register form, I'll call it a recover form. And instead of calling auth register, we call auth recover. We've got one for recover. Yeah, recover. And we'll change the name here. Actually, I can take this code as well. I can take everything from here. Just paste it here. Of course, you can spare a lot of this code because we're talking about classes, so you could create like a parent class and extend this class with another class. And you don't need to write all of this all over again and again. So we've got this register form, which now is a recover form. I'm importing all of my types. And here, this one is a recover form. It's got only email. Let's see if we're OK. Of recover, recover form. This is email. And recover, yeah. All right, let's try. Excuse me? Recover. Oh, register. Yeah, you're right. Thank you. All right, let's go to recover. I'll put my email. I'll hit the, all right, yeah, the recover. And let's go to my Gmail. And here you see no reply. Recover your password. Just works. I mean, let's find out. Get you to this one, yeah? It looks nice. I mean, it's not branded, but you can mess with the template and you can do some of your stuff. But you see, it's as you probably know, it is a lot of work to do it by yourself, and it works and it's fast. So we're actually enjoying a lot of the great stuff that Google is doing without special efforts. And I'm not saying it just because we are speaking inside of Google offices, which are a great company, by the way. All right, cool. So we've got recover, we've got register. We can actually sign in. Everything is managed by this native SDK, because this Firebase part that I just showed you got, as you can see, got nothing to do with Angular. So you can just take this code from this example and do whatever you want with it. Let's take a step forward. Let's use the database. Catch.
So my question would be, I understand Angular Forms, great. What is the advantage of using Angular Forms over just binding to a model directly?
What's the difference between two of the models? You've got much more options when you use the manual way.
So what are they?
It's a little bit out of scope. If we'll have time, I will answer, so anyone can learn about it. If we'll run out of time, you can catch me offline and can explain everything. Okay. And you can read the book, of course.
And then the second question on the Firebase. So you have like these multiple social logins that you can enable.
Yep.
And when you register, what happens when you register with the same email?
That's a good question. What happened if I try to register with the same email? Let's say Nir, gmail.com, 23123. Let's try to do a register. And you see that you've got this email address is already in use. So you've got a lot of logical error message that help you manage all of this process. You don't need to worry about it.
Okay, yeah, I understand that. My question was more, so I have a Google account that's registered with my Google email, and I have, let's say, a Facebook account that's also registered with my Google email.
It's not a problem. You can merge them together. You can do whatever you like. You've got full control of this process. I mean, what I'm showing you right now, it's the defaults, like the magic that happens right out of the box. But if you need to do some more sophisticated stuff, or merge accounts together, or manage different accounts, you can do it. All right? In general, what I'm showing you today is all the features that come straight out of the box, but you can do much more than this.
So merging would be custom work.
Yep. All right. So let's make the database work. All right? Cool. Back to the console. You can see you've got a database, which is a real-time, out-of-sync, document-based database. And let's start by doing something when you register a new user. Let's say that create user with email and password, and then we've got this then. And let's say that what we're getting back is a user, a new user. And we want to save it on the database. Because as you can see, the authentication storage, it's a different system than your database. You don't save your user details inside of your database. You save it in a separate storage, and you can reach it out through the authentication section of your website. So it's completely two different places when you store the information. And this, of course, in purpose, because you don't want to mix them up. Inside the database, I want to create an account section. And when a user creates a new user account, I want to save it into the database. So I'm going to try to do this. I'm going to call Firebase, but this time the database. And I'm going to create a reference to something that doesn't exist, accounts. And now that I got this reference, I can push some data inside of it. So I can try do this. Actually, I have a blackout. Happens sometimes, usually when you're live coding. So let me just have a look. Yep. Reference, child, set, I was all right. We can close this project. Now something strange just happened. I switched projects, but I'm still on our projects. Give me a second, please. All right. So our authentication service, I took a reference. We'll give him a break, yeah. In 2 minutes, we'll take a break, all right? Don't worry. Look at the code. I'm calling the database. I'm creating a reference to something that doesn't exist yet, which is account. I'm creating a child object to this account, all right? I've already have the new user in my hand because the callback of create user and email password, when it's successful, it returns you a user object with a unique ID. So I can use this unique ID, and then I can set the name and the email. So now, and that's the last thing we'll do before a short break, and we'll finish this app. So now, if I'll go back to our application and create a new user, let's do a register. Bob got his own domain. So. And register, I'm expecting that. Where is my console? Here it, almost. Where is it? Where is it? Yeah, the last one? The first one, yep. All right, as you can see, an account was created, and it's got a child object, which is the user ID, which stores the email and the name. So your all interaction with the database will be just, all right, I'm creating a reference. If it exists, it won't be overridden. If it's not exist, it will be created. So if you take a closer look on this code, Firebase, database, create a reference to accounts, create a child object, use the new user UID, and set some data on it. The set method just accepts a simple object. That's it. I'm fine with it because we took things very slow, which is important. Let's build a component for displaying the account list, all right? And then try to deploy this thing and like feel how the hosting process is going. So first of all, I'm going to create a new component. I'm going to do it inside this auth module. So I'll create a component. Let's call this component just a list, all right? And inside this list, I want to, of course, rendering a list. So I'll go back to Angular Material. I'll find the list. Where is it? Here's the list. Again, I'm looking at the source code of this example. I can see this ND list. I'll take it as is. Throw it to my component template. Let's take all of this out. I don't need it. Divider and stuff. Don't need it. And just need this item. And let's say I want to iterate over the accounts from my database and just display it. So we use this ng4 directive and specify let's account of accounts. All right? And we'll display the account name and the account email. And this is, of course, not going to work. I'm heading up to the app module, defining another route, list, assign it to the list list component. Right? Let's try to see something. We will get an error because we're trying to display a list. We don't get an error, which is interesting because we didn't import any ND list, which I'm going to do right now. MD list module. All right, we've got no data to display. Let's see how we can pull data from our Firebase database. Just like before, if you want to pull data, you need to create a reference to your database. And then we'll do like this. Let's implement, excuse me. I'll go to the list component. First, I'm going to create a reference. Let's import Firebase. First, I'm going to create a reference, Firebase database, ref, and pass in accounts. And then I can listen to event on this reference. And the event I'm interested is on value. And I can pass a callback with the result. Let's try to assign these results to a list of account on our component. Try to do like this, like public account, and the result equals to this account's result.val. And let's see if we can get something out of this. Recompiling. Almost. Who knows why? Who can? Excuse me? Async? No. The answer was async. The right answer, right from there, was that it should be an array of items. And this is one of the most common errors in Angular. So each time you see this one, cannot find the first supporting object, you should know that you're probably trying to iterate over an object. And the ng4 directive is accepting to get array, which means that this is an object, and it's not good. So I want to convert it to array. Now, I'm going to take this code ready. It's not a big deal to write it, but I want to save us some time. It's just an helper method that I wrote before, which convert an object to an array. All right? Nothing special. I'll put it inside my class, and now I can use it, this, to array, pass it the result value. Okay? You can use the library for it if you like. And all right, the CSS is not looking very nice, but we can see some data. Let's try to find out why it's looking like a mess. List item, empty list. I've got a feeling oh, that's interesting. Where? Oh, this icon? Don't care about this icon. Yeah, all right. Now it's working. Yeah, I didn't register any icons. Yep, I didn't use the icon. All right, anyway, we can see the list, all right? The list of accounts. So currently, I'm probably binded to the database, which contain only Bob. Let's give it a try. Let's do something like this. Let me split the screen. I click, put it on one side. Yeah, that's a problem with Mac. If you lose control completely. All right. Here I'm going to go to the register, and I'll try to add an account. A fake one, of course. Register, and as you can see, the database is updating, and I'm getting the results. Which means that if we will now build this project, and I'll let you try using it, if I'll let my list open on my computer, and each one of you will register a new account, it should work. So let's give it a try. Let's take another quick look at the code. So I'm creating a reference and listening on event on this reference. Someone asked before about the AngularMaterial library. The AngularMaterial library does the same way, but in much nicer way. It's exposed and observable. It can let you bind to the database in a very convenient way, and you don't need to worry about any change detection events or something that is out of sync. So you should give it a try. No, Angular Fire. Yeah, thank you for. All right? Cool? All right. So let's build something. I promised you no magic, so I'll go back here to the Firebase console. All right? I'm going to the hosting section. And as you can see, a big blue button said Get Started. You will get all the instructions you need. You should do an npm install to a CLI tool named Firebase Tools. I've already did it. You can see that I need to log in. I need to run an init on my project. And then I can just write deploy and host my project. So let's see if that's the truth. Never believed the tutorial. All right. Firebase. Login. Already logged in, which is great. If you try it, you probably will ask to give your email and password, the same that you use to register on the Firebase website. All right. All right. Let's try Firebase init. And now we'll get a series of questions. Which Firebase CLI features you want to set up? Currently, we're using the database and hosting. We don't use the function feature. If I'll have time, I will talk a little bit about the functions later, all right? Let's see. Which project would you like to use? This project I created in the beginning of the session on the Firebase website, create new project. So as you can see, I've got a name here. If I don't have one, I can create one. But we have one. Do you want to use your public directory? Which means that when I run the ng-build command, the Angular CLI will build my project and throw it to a directory on my project. By default, the name of the directory is dist and not public. So the Firebase CLI asked me, which folder should I deploy? By default, it's set to public, but I'm going to change it to dist. All right? Configure as a single-page application. Yes. And that's it. So if they're telling the truth, I can build my project, ng-build. It should take like 30 seconds. It's a very small project. When it ends, I look for a destination directory in my project. This is the dist. And now, let's try to deploy it. But I'll show you something amazing. Get ready. All right? This is the console waiting for your first deploy. And I'm going to run the Firebase deploy command. And just watch it. So my project is deployed. And I've got a URL for it. So let's visit it. And this is our project. We just didn't set any default route. So it's currently hosted and it's live. Let's see if the register working. Yep. It's a very long URL. Let's shorten it up. Let's use Google. Let's give you something more friendly to work with. Yeah, kind of more friendly. Try it. Really try it. It won't be very convenient because you need to surf to the register route in order to add a user, but just give it a try. If someone will create a user, I probably, even if I'm on my local machine, yeah, I'll show it again. I lost it. Here it is. It's goo.gl and then sdpJzE. Friendly. Shorter. Does someone actually succeed? No? No one? Only one? Loading. Yeah, got it. All right. So if there is anyone with a laptop or something that can try to add a user, and there is, you can see that everything is now connected, everything is live. And the best thing about it, one of the best features of this hosting service, which I think it's one of the easiest I ever did before, and it's HTTPS, of course. Let's say I'm changing something. Let's add a default route. Let's go to the app module and say that if we got an empty route, we should go to login as well. And I will build my project again, ng-build, with the change that I just made. And now take a look at this. You see that this is my current deploy. And now I'm going to run the Firebase deploy again. So I'm deploying a new snapshot. And I can actually roll back if I got an issue. And it's a very, very sleek UI. Yep, that's impressive. Now, that's not, I didn't wrote Firebase. I'm not the right guy for this. Anyway, we've got something like 10 minutes. So let me summarize what we did. We did a live coding tutorial. Hopefully, for most of you, it was it's like inspired you to go and try this service. The free tier of Firebase will actually let you do a lot of things. And we haven't seen like nothing. The Firebase give you as a service, as you can see it right here, something called server functions. So you can deploy your own logic if you like. It will give you an integration with AdWords and other Google services and analytics if you like. It will give you enough space to host your entire application for free. And hopefully, you've seen that it's not a big deal to get started with. Actually, the configuration, it's one of the easiest I ever used. I want to say something about AngularMaterial. If you know it or not, AngularMaterial is still a work in progress, which means that we don't have tons of components yet. The documentation isn't complete. When this project will deliver it, we will get everything we need. In the meantime, you probably won't find anything you need to actually build a complete solution. So I found this project, which is open source, which is riding on top of AngularMaterial, which means that you are installing AngularMaterial, you used AngularMaterial components, but they added like tons of other components and features and made it open source. And this library, this Covalent from this Teradata company, the nice thing about it, that it used AngularMaterial, the AngularMaterial project, the original, the core AngularMaterial project, just adding more features. So I'm currently building my first project using this library because I found here like everything I need. And in some point of time, when AngularMaterial will be ready with enough components, I can just make a switch. So if you do like to use AngularMaterial for a real project, you can check it out. They got some really convenience like starters, like those layouts and a simple way to choose your theme and everything. All right? Cool. Any questions?
When you did a host, right?
Yeah.
You had the Firebase configuration in your module, right?
Yeah.
Does that come out, or we have to tweak?
It won't stay there.
Oh, okay.
The
Really?
deploy here.
That's awesome.
No, not because of the deploy.
Oh.
I won't put it there.
No,
I
right.
put it as a variable, as an environment variable.
So we can
Right.
put that into a file that gets uploaded?
I've got a complete example. I'll give you the link and you can see everything.
Awesome, thank you.
All right? Go for it.
Okay, Firebase hosting, great, I use it. The only question is if I import my custom domain, how do I configure HTTPS on that?
You've got here in the console. Let's go to hosting. All right? You're talking about this one?
Yeah, so
Connect the
I
domain?
import my domain, but I can't seem to figure out how to configure security certificate on it.
That's a technical issue that I'm not sure that I'm the right person to answer it. But I think there is someone from the Firebase core team right here.
There is?
I don't work on hosting, okay? I work
Right.
on the growth side.
But he knows people. Ask
Okay.
him.
But yeah, come to me and I'll
Yeah.
find where to direct you.
Yeah, because it seems like some kind of technical problem. I don't remember any issues when I
Okay.
stuff in that domain.
I should also mention that there's a sample repo on GitHub created
Yep.
by Eric from Firebase team called Fireplace.
Eric Haddad.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So he shows like the functions and everything, fully working
Yep.
website. Okay, and one more question is not to the Firebase mod to Angular configure. You know, before the Angular application starts, a lot of times I see a requirement to configure the application, like where the API endpoint is, different endpoints. You know.
Talking about Angular?
Yeah.
Working with Angular CLI, which kind of configuration?
No, not Angular CLI. So, for
It's
example,
not an Angular CLI, so you should base your project on the Angular CLI.
no, I'm saying in any Angular application,
Yep.
Before Angular application starts up, it needs to know where the different endpoints are, where you go to, you know, authenticate, where you go to get the files.
Yeah, you're talking about like creating environment variables inside
Yeah,
Angular,
yeah.
right?
So,
So what is the question? How do you
what's
use
the
it?
recommended approach to that?
The recommended approach is to use Angular CLI because, as you can see on the screen, it creates for you objects with flags that you can do whatever you like inside. And if you really need to do something more customized, you can extract the webpack configuration out of Angular CLI. If I get you right, that's what you're looking for?
Yeah, I mean, what if there's a requirement to modify configuration after it's deployed, not at the compile time?
I'll show you after doing it. All right?
In the list component, you subscribe to only adding of users or in any kind of changes?
Any
Like
kind of
if you
changes?
go and delete a user, will it
Yeah.
still refresh?
Yep, because the register on value.
Oh, okay.
If
That's what you do.
changed,
Alright.
you should use the Angular Firebase adapter. It will make your
Alright.
life much easier. All right, so final words. First of all, thank you all for coming and listening. Second, we need to get out of here. But if you've got more questions, I'll be downstairs. I'm not in a hurry, so feel free to ask me whatever you like, and I'll do my best to answer you. And I lied about the URL. Yeah, I put it on the meetup.com, so everyone could see it. But if you can't wait until then, you can go. You can find it on LinPub, Angular Forms. Just add this CNYC, and you can get it for free. It's C for coupon and NYC for you know what. Let me just check it out that it's working. Yeah, all right. You get here and you see it's 0. All right. So thank you very much. See you. See you around.